What's going on, YouTube? Today I bring you my weekly recap for week one of the NFL season, and what a strange week it was. We had 9 outright upsets, 5 of which came on the road, which I believe is the most in NFL history. Before the Raiders upset, it was 8, which was the most of the last 35 years, so 9 might be the most in history. It was a strange week, so to be honest, I don't feel all that bad getting not the best record on my predictions week one, but I do expect that record to get better as the year goes on. But starting off with our Cowboys and Buccaneers recap, I predicted 20-33. The actual score was 29-31. This was it was my game of the week until the Ravens and Raiders played. This was a phenomenal game. The Cowboys were just simply much more competitive than I expected, especially on the defensive end. And the Buccaneers, the fact that they made the mistakes they did with penalties, with turnovers, and still won, to me, just shows how talented the team is. They just need to clean that up. But, winning with those, things happening to you against one of the NFL's most elite offenses just shows again how good this team is. They didn't even cover their spread. They were big favorites in this game, but the Cowboys did play good, and their defense, I will give them credit. They played better than I expected. If their defense can just kind of get a little bit better, I think this team could legit be a true competitor. I don't think they're quite there yet, but Dak Prescott looked amazing. The offense was humming. They need to figure out how to use Zeke a little bit better, but that offensive line was playing pretty good against a very good Buccaneers defense, and they didn't even have Zach Martin. So the Cowboys, potentially a team that might be a bit better than I anticipated. Buccaneers still won the game, however. Then our first game of Sunday, on Sunday morning, I had the Seahawks winning this one 30-17. They did win this one 28-16. Russell Wilson cooked. I mean, that's just what Russ does week one until week 7 to 9. I thought the Colts defense might hold them relatively in check, but at the end of the day, the Seahawks offense was just too much, and they did play better on defense than I expected, but not by much. I mean, Carson Wentz was decent. I don't think he'll be very good against better defenses, considering there is definitely better than the Seahawks. Colts looked decent, but there were just a few things that were, issues. I mean, Wentz still didn't look that good. He didn't look great against, kind of a bad defense. The receivers and cornerbacks were having immense trouble, and I get it's DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, but still, you got to look better than that. I think it'll be a similar season to what we see from the Seahawks as always. I think they're going to start off super hot and then, kind of lay down a little bit more. The reason I have them at 10-7 and third in the division, although that might end up being fourth now with the emergence of the Cardinals, was because I just feel like that might happen a little bit earlier in the year. Regardless, they still won this game, and it was still a good game, but Seahawks did take this one. I don't want to say easily, but it was a bit on the easier side for them. Jaguars and Texans, the first one that I got wrong. Experience just simply trumped inexperience here, and that's what it really came down to the end of the day. The Jaguars are such an inexperienced team when it comes to rookies everywhere, second-year players. Their head coach is not. This isn't just his first year as a head coach, but it's his first year as a coach in the NFL. He's just never been around the NFL much before, and he didn't look like he knew what he was doing, to be honest, and there's already some buzz that he's looking at retiring. I don't blame the guy. A bold prediction I made before the season was that he would retire after this season, and either Matt Nagy or Doug Peterson would replace him as their head coach, and it kind of looks like he may even retire pretty quickly, maybe for USC's job, because he just does not look like he's enjoying NFL football right now. The Jaguars, they were just bad. The play calling was horrible. They just didn't look good. Again, inexperienced. I didn't expect the Texans to frankly be as good. And again, it's just a case of the fact that the Jaguars just really, really bad. But the experience played out. Tyrod Taylor was great. Again, I think he's always been a good quarterback, but he's just never really gotten that chance. And I think now he's finally showing he is somewhat of a capable guy. Philip Lindsay and Mark Ingram were great on the running game. I mean, the Texans just again had that experience, and that's what it came down to at the end of the day. They weren't great or anything, but they put up a lot of points against a Jaguars team that just struggled so hard. And I mean, honestly, the Jaguars have a legit shot to have the number one pick again, and winning this game might have actually hurt the Texans' chance at getting the first overall pick. Um, so, really kind of losses for both teams on this front. It wasn't a very fun game to watch. Probably one of the worst games of the week. Then the Eagles and Falcons, and I mean this one I just got plain wrong. I mean, I did not expect the Falcons to be this bad. Like I didn't think they got better for sure. I still had them winning only 4 games. I did not expect them to be this bad. Kyle Pitts just was not able to get going, and a main part of that was that Matt Ryan looked awful out there. The Eagles defense isn't horrible or anything, but it's one of the lesser good defenses. But I mean, they were just feasting on Matt Ryan, and he could not do anything. I mean, Darius Slay was playing good. Fletcher Cox was great. I mean, yeah, I still don't think the Eagles are going to be one of the better teams. They themselves had issues for sure, and I am taking their offensive performance with a massive grain of salt, considering they were playing maybe the worst defense in the NFL against the Falcons. Hurts at least played well; like he did play well. Devontae Smith looked nice in his opener. There's definitely some upside there, but I'm taking it with a big grain of salt, being that it was the Falcons. I could see the Eagles winning this game. I thought the Falcons would take it just because I really expected Ryan, Pitts, and Ridley to be better than this, but they were just god awful. The defense was horrible. The Falcons could, maybe be even worse than they were last year. And they need to get themselves a quarterback this time. So the Eagles took this one pretty easily. I still don't think they're going to be one of the better teams, but they did win the game. Then the Chargers of Washington, what was my game of the week heading into the week, was still a decent game, but it wasn't the best. It was a lot of weird stuff with this game. The Chargers offensive line was fantastic against, in my mind, the best defense in the NFL, and, probably the second best defensive line in the NFL. Rashawn Slater shut down Chase Young again. And I don't know what it is, with Rashawn Slater and Chase Young, but he just can't do anything. So, Chase Young literally had to switch sides at a point in the game. Fitzpatrick got hurt, and then once he did and Heineke came in, it actually seemed like Washington's offense could do something. Which, maybe Heineke's the future of Washington. We'll have to see how he plays in the few coming weeks with Fitzpatrick being out. Washington just didn't play very good, and neither did Los Angeles, to be honest. I mean, they kind of started playing good there in the fourth quarter. Herbert looked great. That wasn't the issue. It was mainly the fact that his receivers were dropping a fair amount of passes. The defense, held up for the main part, but there was definitely some issues at times there. Overall, just it was a competitive game, but it wasn't necessarily the best game. It definitely didn't end up being the game of the week by any means. But Chargers did end up taking this one, though. Yeah, I mean, it was a game full of weird stuff, but Rashawn Slater looks like a legit tackle. And the biggest thing I want to emphasize for a lot of these teams is I don't want to overreact to really anything. Week 1, we saw the most upsets in NFL history, I believe. I don't think the Packers are going to be as bad as their score shows, and we'll get to them later. But, again, just you got to take everything week 1 with just a bit of a grain of salt. And so I don't expect Washington to struggle like this, and neither with Los Angeles for the rest of the season. I still think they'll be good teams, but the Chargers did take this one. Then the Steelers and the Bills, and this was, if you were a betting man, this is the game you should have bet on, because this was a pretty big upset by the Steelers. That front seven, when they rush 4, is quite possibly the best front 7 the NFL has ever seen. I mean, rushing Stephon Tuitt, Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, and Melvin Ingram at the same time, I don't know how you're supposed to stop that. And that's why the Steelers won the game. Now, the offense did did good as well. The offensive line is definitely playing better than most thought, including myself, mainly because Kevin Dotson and Kendrick Green have played so well. Dan Moore has also played very well, so that was just a bit of a surprise there. Mainly Dan Moore and Kevin Dotson just playing great again. Both big steals by the Steelers. Yeah, it's just that defense is scary, because their coverage is nothing to sleep on either. Minka is still a great safety, even though I do hate on him a little bit. I'm definitely known as a Minka hater by some. Um, but their secondary is still not bad. But when you have a pass rush as elite as that, that's just there's a reason the Bills lost. And again, I'm not gonna take this game and think that the Bills are done. They lost to the Steelers. I also don't think the Steelers are necessarily still gonna win all that many games. The Steelers could definitely make the playoffs with that front seven, which again just really goes to show how good it is. And the offense did not play bad. Besides the offensive line, Najee Harris looked good. I mean, I thought he might have a bit of a bad rookie year because of the offensive line, but it played better than I expected. And Big Ben was fine enough. He got the job done against a Bills defense that is still good. And that was just kind of the case for the Bills, was just that Josh Allen was disoriented by one of the most scariest pass rushes that we've ever seen. And I don't expect the Bills to drop off this year, but they'll still make the playoffs for sure, in my opinion. But yeah, this is a bit of an upset, and the Steelers' defense is just it's scary. So yeah, if you were a betting man, this should have been your game to bet on. But this was a good game by the Steelers. Then the 49ers and the Lions. This was kind of my prediction for one of the bigger blowouts of this week, and it was up until the fourth quarter, because I think the Niners were winning like 38 to, I couldn't tell you for sure, but they were in the 30s, and the Lions were like in the single digits, I believe. And then out of nowhere, the Lions just made this sudden surge in the fourth quarter and almost came back to win the game. They didn't end up doing it, but the 49ers actually almost let up a 30-point comeback in the fourth quarter, which would not have been good. Now, they had a couple injury issues during the game. Raheem Mostert's out for the rest of the year now. Jason Verrett hurt his knee again, which is unfortunate because now you really don't have much in that corner room, which makes your secondary a bit worse. In the Lions, I mean, for the first three quarters, they looked like the Lions. To be honest, I definitely think that they could have gone this year without a win, and they looked like an 0-17 team for the first three quarters. The fourth quarter was garbage time to me. I think, the Lions got that momentum, and that's eventually why they were able to catch up. Didn't quite complete it, but I'm not viewing that as this big, sign for the 49ers. I think, they were just kind of it's garbage time. We won. And the Lions just got that momentum going. Either way, the 49ers still pulled out the win. Again, even if the 49ers had let up that comeback, that would be an issue, obviously, but I would still take it with a bit of a grain of salt because, again, week one, crazy stuff happens. But they didn't let up the comeback, which is good for them. So, yeah, I mean, almost let it, but 49ers did take this one. Vikings, Bengals. I felt really confident in the Vikings. I thought this was going to be a good team. The defense was revitalized. The offense was going to be deadly, and then two main things went wrong. The cornerback room is still an issue, and the offensive line is god awful. I think another piece to it is potentially that Mike Zimmer. I just don't think he's the right coach at this point. I don't think his play calling's competent. I mean, they kind of forgot that they had Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson until the fourth quarter, which is where they kind of came back, and then it went to overtime. And let me just say, the Vikings should not have lost this game. Yes, they had a lot of mistakes. They played a very poor game, but that was not a fumble that should have been. That probably would have led to the Vikings scoring a field goal and winning the game, to be honest. It should not have been a turnover, and that's ultimately what led to the Bengals winning this game. And the part of it is definitely the fault of the Vikings. This again was a poor game, but they should not have lost this game because of that call. Yeah, I mean, it's just they forgot that they could throw. The offensive line was horrible. I mean, it was bad. Now, of course, you don't have Darisaw or Davis playing, so hopefully we can get them back soon and see if they upgrade this offensive line at all. But it's just the Bengals have been better than I expected, to be honest. Joe Burrow finally looks like he's back into it. Jamar Chase looks great now that he's seemingly got over that drop issue a bit more. He had a great game, and again tore up those Minnesota cornerbacks that just were having a lot of issues. The defense, even in the preseason, played a lot better than I was expecting, and that seems to have continued. So maybe the Bengals are good, maybe the Vikings are bad, maybe a bit of both. Either way, I think the Vikings should have won this game, but a fault does land on them a bit. But the Bengals did end up taking this one in an overtime winner. Then the Jets at the Panthers. The Panthers barely covered this game. I don't know. It was a bit of a sloppy game in some ways. Sam Darnold looked okay for the Panthers. I still don't expect him to be very good. Um, they got a great offense. Otherwise, I mean, Christian McCaffrey was fantastic. The receiving core is still one of the better in the NFL. The defense was a little sloppy. They could have definitely gotten a bit better, more pass rush, better coverage and stuff because they didn't win that convincingly over a team that also looked. I mean, the Panthers didn't look poor. It was just the fact that against this team they looked poor. I was a believer in the fact that the Jets could be better than people are thinking, but they just did not look good. Zach Wilson didn't look amazing in his debut. Um, Running game is probably going to be a bit of an issue for the Jets. The offensive line is definitely going to be an issue with Becton out for a few weeks now. And it wasn't even playing very good even before he went out of the game. Pass rush, they were efficient in the pass rush, but it just really didn't lead to much. They actually led the NFL in pass rush efficiency, but it didn't lead to anything for them, which is obviously not good. They still don't have any corners on their team. It's just, I still think they can be better than people think, but I would have liked for the Panthers to have won a bit more convincingly for me to have hope in them to really do anything this year. They have a great roster, but I think, quarterback might hold them back a little bit, and there are a couple holes to still fill. Offensive line is a big issue, and maybe that's why the Jets were so good, was that the Panthers' offensive line is pretty bad. It just doesn't give me much hope that the Panthers are going to do much this year. And the Jets, again, I think will be a little bit better than people think, but still probably aren't going to be very good. So the Panthers still did end up taking this one, but I would have hoped it would have been a bit more convincingly. Then, a bit of a surprise. Cardinals dominated the Titans. And there were multiple reasons for it. Kyler Murray was fantastic. I mean, he might have taken that next step. Early on, I was very high on the Cardinals, even having them win the division at some points in my record predictions. And then as the season got closer and closer, I just kind of started to drop more and more on them just because there were so many aspects I didn't like. They're playing in the toughest division. They didn't have any cornerbacks. I thought, Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt might both be a little bit past their prime. I didn't know how confidently I felt about Kyler Murray taking the next step. I didn't know how I felt about Cliff Kingsbury. There were a few too many issues to where eventually I just started to drop on them, and then they immediately just erased any doubts I had because Kyler Murray looked elite, like MVP conversation elite. James Conner actually looked good as their running back. DeAndre Hopkins was DeAndre Hopkins. Christian Kirk might finally be a breakout this year. The offensive line played good. Against a Titans defense that just was not good. And then we got to talk about the defense because Chandler Jones, 5 sacks, 6 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, and 3 tackles for loss. That is insane. I mean, that is one of the best defensive performances in recent memory. That guy absolutely destroyed Taylor Lewan. So much that he went to Twitter and apologized because he just got manhandled. And being with that he was being such an issue, J.J. Watt in his own right played well, which just created such a fearsome pass rush duo that, they limited Derrick Henry to like 20 yards, or it was like 20 to 40 yards. The Titans didn't even try passing for a while. I mean, Ryan Tannehill just honestly did not have a good game, and that led to A.J. Brown and Julio Jones just not getting the ball. The Cardinals were just simply dominant on both sides, and, at this point, my only somewhat of a concern is, can Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt keep that up all season? Because they are going to make up for that lack of a cornerback room. And is Cliff Kingsbury that guy to really take them there? I mean, good chance that both those things happen because they looked scary against a good Titans team. And you want to talk about the Titans defensively, I was disappointed. I thought that the defense was for sure going to be better than last year. I mean, Rashad Weaver was one of my guys, and he played great in preseason, really just didn't make an impact in this game. Jeffrey Simmons wasn't really seen anywhere, but Dupree didn't make any noise. I thought for sure the secondary, was at least a little bit improved with some of the guys they picked up, and they just weren't. I mean, the defense was just not good. Um, Maybe the Cardinals are just going to be that good, but either way, they won this game dominantly. And I had them lower, but I was really high on them earlier, and they're showing me that I should have never doubted them. The Cardinals are going to be a scary team this year, and they took this win against the Titans. Then talking about our first Sunday afternoon game with the Browns heading over to the Chiefs. Despite the fact that the Browns lost, they looked good. I had them losing 23-33. They made that a bit closer, 29-33. Yeah, the Browns are a Super Bowl contender. Like, let's be honest here. They lost, but that's just simply because it's the Chiefs. I mean, Mahomes, Kels, Tyreek Hill. The Browns were just winning for a while, and I mean, the Chiefs just kind of did their thing where they come back from like 2 touchdown deficits. But the Browns are a Super Bowl team, man. I mean, you play like this, and you are going. This is a team that can win the Super Bowl for sure. And I think if this team plays, again, I think the Browns probably win it. And if you go back and forth, it's going to be an equal amount of wins. These two teams are so good. And maybe it's just the difference of a home field advantage that really changes who wins this game. Um, Either way, it was a great game, and the Browns are legit. No doubt about that at this point. They came close to beating the Chiefs. Chiefs still got the win, but Browns still played fantastic. Um, then the Dolphins at the Patriots. Patriots lost this game, and that's just disappointing because the Dolphins were bad. Mainly offensively, their defense did look good, not quite as good as last year, but their defense did still look good. Offensively, Tua's pretty much showing me what I thought he would be this year, which is not good. The offensive line was putrid, and they just really didn't make any noise, which is all the more embarrassing that the Patriots lost this game. I thought that, in Foxborough, you'd be able to win this game. Like, Bill Belichick's never, been good at starting off the season well, but like losing to the Dolphins, who are playing that badly in this fashion in your home field, not very good. Mac Jones looked good, but really at the end of the day, I think the big issue was just he didn't have anyone to throw to. I mean, you go from Alabama where you had Devontae Smith and Jaleel Billingsley in the amount that they used him, a great offensive line, a great head coach, a great system, Jalen Waddle, all that. And I mean, the Patriots' offensive line is one of the better in the NFL. Bill Belichick's a genius, obviously, a bit more of a defensive guy, but a genius. I think the obvious lack here is that lack of a receiver. They really need to address that, but he still played well. Yeah, I mean, it just at the end of the day, again, I feel like the Patriots should still be good as the season goes on. They've never started off hot, and I don't think the Dolphins are going to still end up doing that well, but it at least gives me a bit of hope that this defense can carry them to something. And the Patriots, there's a bit of like it raises my concern, but I'm not necessarily concerned yet for the Patriots. But, it was a bit of an embarrassing loss if I'm going to be honest. Then the Broncos and the Giants. Broncos won this game pretty convincingly. I thought the Giants would at least make it a bit closer, but it was 27-7 up until the very last second. The Broncos were just great. I mean, their defense was shut down on, an offense that just did not look good. Saquon had like 20 yards. Daniel Jones had some plays, but that was mainly his receivers making plays. Daniel Jones did not look good. The offensive line did not look good. And even the defense kind of got manhandled by Teddy Bridgewater and the Broncos, who, and I was high on the Broncos because I really did think this team was just a quarterback away from being competitive, and Teddy Bridgewater might actually be their guy. He was great. He was making plays, scrambling out of the pocket, accurate, making the big plays. KJ Hamler dropped a big touchdown, so the Broncos could have won by even more. They were just great in this game, to be honest, and they firing on all cylinders. If you get yourself Teddy Bridgewater to play like that every week and your defense to play like that every week, that's a playoff team. So, and the Giants, on the other hand, not looking very good because your defense did not look very good against an offense that's not supposed to be super good. And, your offense, yeah, I mean, I know it was the Broncos defense, but still, Daniel Jones just did not look good. And Saquon, Just didn't look like Saquon. So buckle in, Giants fans. Then the Packers at the Saints, the surprise of the week. This is flipped, by the way. Actually, the Packers didn't win. The Saints won 38-3. Um, I didn't think the Saints would win this game, to be honest. You're not even playing in your own field. With the whole stuff going on with Hurricane Ida, I didn't think Jameis Winston was going to be the quarterback for these guys. I thought the defense might be a bit of an issue against a great offense, and it was none of that was true. Jameis Winston settled right in. 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, 140 quarterback rating. He just had his way with the Packers defense, who had Zadarius Smith. They had Jair Alexander. Like, they had their players. Like, Aaron Rodgers got pulled for Jordan Love because he just downright sucked. And part of that's just because, the Saints, they have a good defense. And their cornerback room was like the big concern, and they've really fixed that up. Marshawn Lattimore, and then now Brian Poole, Bradley Roby, they picked up Paulson Adebo. It's just so much improved. Like, Jameis Winston plays like that every game. I don't expect him to throw 5 touchdowns, no incompletions, but if he plays good like that, the Saints are back to being a Super Bowl contender. Now with the Packers, it is, I wouldn't press the panic button yet. Like, you see some people who are, like, the season's lost and everything, and I don't think that's the case. You're going to be rusty. Aaron Rodgers barely played, barely did training camp, which isn't a big issue for, a 37-year-old quarterback and stuff, but he didn't play in training camp. Other than that, I mean, to me, there's just not a lot of excuses. Like, you need to come out and play dominant against the Lions, because if the Packers are showing signs of struggle against the Lions, then yeah, you're gonna have to hit the panic button. That's rebuild time right there. I mean, if this Packers team is struggling against the Lions next week, that is time to hit the panic button, like, multiple times. So yeah, I mean, maybe the Saints are just amazing. Maybe the Packers suck now. Again, maybe a bit of both, but the Saints won this game really easily, and I think Sean Payton did great. I mean, that was another one of my concerns was, will he be able to, like, go from having that, like, non-arm quarterback to a big arm quarterback? And I guess I probably just forgot Sean Payton is an offensive genius, and he did perfect with what he was given. The Saints are going to be better than what I thought, and the Packers might be worse than what I thought, but either way, I don't think anyone expected this big of a blowout, though, so the Saints did take this game. Sunday Night Football, the Bears at the Rams, and it wasn't as big of a blowout as I thought. I mean, the difference of 5 points, but the Bears, I mean, yeah, they didn't look good, and the Rams looked great. Matt Stafford might be a MVP candidate, like I predicted in my award prediction video. They looked great on offense, and really, I mean, I think it's just showing that they were just that quarterback away. And again, the difference of Jared Goff to Matt Stafford is just so insurmountable that you're seeing why they just won so dominantly against the Bears. I see a lot of people saying, just throw Justin Fields in there. I wouldn't. To me, you're just throwing him in there when I don't think he's ready. There were definitely a lot of still red flags in preseason for me. He was always a boomer bust guy that was going to need a bit of development. And to me, I just don't see the point of throwing him in there right now. What's he going to do? I mean, the Bears certainly weren't any better, with Andy Dalton. Like, it wasn't entirely Andy Dalton's fault, but he was a part of, he was definitely a big part of the team's loss, but he wasn't the only reason. Like, the team as a whole just was not good. And I get it's the Rams, but, like, they just, I don't see the point of throwing Fields in there right now. I think he needs to sit and develop for a little bit. And to me, I don't see the Bears going anywhere much with this team this year. And the Rams did take this one pretty convincingly, so yeah. And then last, my game of the week from week 1 was the Ravens with the Raiders. And I thought the Ravens would take this game. I thought maybe the Raiders would show a bit of competitiveness, but God, I did not expect them to be this sloppy. I mean, Lamar fumbled it like twice, and once was in overtime. The offensive line did not play good for Lamar at all. Marlon Humphrey was showing like a if Marlon Humphrey wasn't one of the game's best, he gave him an amount of effort that like you'd be cut the next day from what he did. Raiders, they were just good. Derek Carr had a great game. There were a few puzzling throws, but he had a great game. Offensive line wasn't all too impressive, but it's just he got to his guys. I mean, Bryan Edwards looks to probably be their number one receiver this year. Henry Ruggs still struggled for the most part. I never thought he'd really be good. Hunter Renfrow got in on the action. Zay Jones got in a little bit on the action. Darren Waller was fantastic. The Ravens didn't have a big answer for him. And the defense did play good. Max Crosby had 13 pressures. The dude was phenomenal. I'm kind of hoping people will quiet with the whole Cleveland Farrell's better thing. Ngakoue was playing pretty good up until he had to leave the game. The Raiders were just a bit better than I expected, and the Ravens were just extremely sloppy. It's another game where I'm going to take it with a grain of salt. I don't imagine the Ravens are going to go into every game and act that sloppy, because if they just would have, not had those turnovers, if they would have just been able to avoid those stupid mistakes, like they would have won this game a lot easier. But, the Raiders still did play a little bit better than I thought they would. But still, the Ravens should have won this game. Crazy ending to it, though. I think, with that last drive by Derek Carr, how overtime turned out with 2 goal line appearances, both by the Raiders and stuff. To me, this was the craziest and best game of week 1. And that is why it earns my game of the week. It was a great game. Disappointed to see that the Ravens played so sloppy, but at least there were a few bright spots. Patrick Queen looked a lot better. Probably a breakout year coming from him. Sammy Watkins did look solid. Latavius Murray was okay. I mean, he's at least a good pickup for right now, while the other 3 running backs are hurt. Devontae Freeman and Le'Veon Bell will probably get promoted this week to the active roster. And Tyson Williams also looked good. He can be a nice, solid secret weapon for the Ravens. But yeah, besides that, just was not a lot of positives. This was an extremely sloppy game that they could have won much easier. They could have won in general if they just had not played like that. And the Raiders did end up getting the win, though, in Las Vegas. And what an ending to week 1 of our opener of the 2021 season. We're going to be doing these every week. So if you guys, can't catch all the games or can't catch the games, and you want to watch these videos to get the breakdown for, how your team and all the other teams did, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button so you never miss an upload. Tomorrow we will be doing my updated power rankings. The day after that, predictions for week 2. I'll be here pretty soon. Doing a mock draft soon, so stay tuned for all that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see all you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.